電機と天才トリップ・ホーキンスが世に送り出したマルチプレイヤーだ。
It's a new experience.
それは全く新しい体験。
Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Mess. So, Tarek and I are continuing a series of 3 doesn't suck, and I'm here to tell you why. And today we're going to have a very strange and very intriguing episode because we're playing Virtual House Thief Life Stage. This is a launch game for the 3DO interactive multiplayer, and I'm going to tie it directly to Hideo Kojima and PT, or the playable trailer for Silent Hills. Because as cheery as this intro is and as fun and animated as this 3DO interactive multiplayer is on screen, this is a haunted game filled with murder and horror. You just don't realize it quite yet. We're going to get into it very shortly. But right off the top, this is such a hilarious intro. You have the FZ1 as this cute little sentient object, and then you get into the game, and all of a sudden there's multiple dead haunting women here directly in front of you as you start one of the levels. This is a very strange experience. I have no idea what's going on with this game. If there ever was a creepypasta come to life as an actual release, Virtual House Thief Life Stage is 100% going to be it. And you'll see it was developed by Microcabin, who did have a history in text adventures and some horror games as well. But as we go into this actual quote-unquote game, and there really isn't a game so much as just a home-designed piece of software, you're going to see that for the time frame, this is absolutely outstanding 3D, and they used it in some of the strangest ways possible. There are 2 levels in this game, pre-built houses, in which you can navigate around the environment, and you'll see here, this is some of what you find. There are 2 areas that are haunted, and the storytelling within them is absolute madness, and it makes no sense, and I love it for that. You'll see here as we go back into the level, you have this television, and you can play Merry Christmas music on a TV while a corpse is drowning in a tub beside you. You're going to see there's a Japanese toilet that also filters into the tub, being its own level of weirdness, but a ghostly apparition of a dead woman is coming out of the tub while these 2 waterlogged hands are reaching up almost as if to grab you and pull you down into the area. You also see there is a crab here, and apparently they are known for eating corpses on the beach. But there are 7 areas in this quote-unquote game that do not have the haunting, but as you go through them, you're going to see objects from the 2 haunted levels, so you start to realize that a lot of the areas in this game seem to be about the life of whoever was killed or the multiple people that were killed before you actually get to those haunted areas. And that's why the developers are really pulling one over on every single game player that encountered this game. Even in these bright, cheery environments that are just a household, you're going to start to notice that nothing is what it seems. It's like a creepy liminal space. It seems like the real world, but also strange at the same time. And once you start to actually realize that there's a lot of shared continuity between the normal areas and the haunted murder basements and caverns you can go through, it really does get extra creepy. And it is fun to play those 2 quote-unquote haunted areas first, so that when you go through these normal levels and see what's going on, you can 100% just understand the context of it. Because this living room seems to be where somebody lived before they were murdered and ended up in this subterranean hell. Because as we pivot the camera here, you have 6 different apparitions of 6 different dead women, all wearing the same clothing, and you can see that there's blood splatters on this door here. And as we go through different areas, this game just gets absolutely mind-bendingly weird. This is the start of one area. You're going to see a woman behind a cash register, and she's not dead, but over the door it's going to say danger. Now we're doing this in real time. We're going to go through this door here, so pay attention to where we start from. This brick wall building here with the woman in the cash register. As soon as we go through the door, you're confronted with this deep blue wall, and no matter how you turn, it's disorienting and almost motion sickening in its own way. It's there to set you on edge and to confuse you as to where you actually are within the game. If you turn just the right way, you're going to find a body of water in this area, and the minute you look at that, the camera basically snaps in a completely different direction, which, as a 3D engine thing on the 3DO, totally makes sense, but I think it does it for a completely different reason. Just like I mentioned earlier, this game seems to be direct inspiration for PT. Once you go out the door that you came in, you find yourself in a completely different area. Now all of a sudden, this entire world has turned itself upside down. Doors do not always lead to where you came from, and that immediately reminds me of PT from Hideo Kojima. It has the exact same kind of vibe going for it, a haunted area where doors and hallways and passages can lead anywhere to anything in any manner. the life stages just seems like a very early version of a PT. Now I know I'm imparting some sort of connection there because no one worked on the same things, but it's very likely somebody on the team may have played this game back in 1994 and remember the impact it had on them. Because once you go through that door that changes the areas, you're going to come down here, you're going to see blood splatters again on the floor, and as we move forward there's going to be another murder victim, a ghostly apparition, her head coming through the floor. This is all what seems to be like in a torture basement, and this was never advertised in the game. It's not on the case art, it's not in the manual, it's not on the disc art. You would buy this thinking you were getting home design software with some interactive levels that you could just take home and kind of play around with to get a sense of the current state of 3D on the 3DO interactive multiplayer. But if you select the right menu items, this is what you're going through. This is a horror walking simulator telling you a story without any text whatsoever, but if you actually pay attention to the different visual cues within the game, you're going to start to understand what that story is, because there is more than one ghost. And you'll see here in the corner there's a pair of red high heel shoes, which are going to be very prevalently shown in a different area of the game that is not haunted. Somebody was designing this level and telling an interactive horror story without ever letting on what was going on. This is the type of game that you might see on a list of launch games for the 3DO, but barely anyone's ever going to talk about the haunted nature of it. And you'll see here as we come through this door, suddenly things are going to get even weirder. Outside of this window is the moon landing. I think that's John Glenn right there, standing on the surface of the moon. We are now in this liminal space where nothing makes sense whatsoever. Anything can happen, and this is unlike any environment that you would ever see in real life, which is what the game was supposed to be showing you. And that again reminds me of PT. Things popping up outside of the windows, spaces changing, things just getting weirder the further you traverse through the house. It's the exact same thing here in the life stage. And this again was sold as home design software. It is highly impressive visually that the 3DO could pull this off, even if it doesn't do a great frame rate. This is outstanding 3D for the time, and one of the reasons the 3DO doesn't suck. One of the other reasons it's such an important game is just the storytelling that it gives you. Come around this hallway and there's 7 different dead corpses, the apparitions of them standing there waiting to greet you in front of this door. And their silence and creepiness and stillness really does sell the visual horror even more. You kind of expect them to rush at you, but they're just going to stand there staring right at you, unlike other games that we're talking about in this video. But honestly, this is just such a weird scenario. I'm pretty sure that 99% of the people watching this video now are going to have no idea what the life stage is, let alone the fact that there is this creepy haunted area in the game that is telling the story of what seems to be a torture basement and a murder. You're going to see doors that you can't access until you figure out how to get to them. You're going to find areas you can go further down into this cavern. This is basically an endless maze showing you different story elements of what's happening, and it's always throwing something at you. You have to turn right to see that door, and the first time that ghost is staring back at you, it is going to be a genuinely scary moment. And this is done in basic silence as well. There's no screams, there's no jump scares. It is just environmental storytelling, and it just 100% works. This is one of the strangest gaming experiences I have ever played on any console, computer, or otherwise. I do not know how this got made, but I love that it exists. The 3DO interactive multiplayer was such a unique and experimental console, and having something again like this is just so spectacular. And again, those crabs are eating at the corpse of the woman that was buried in the ground. I just don't understand what's happening here, but I know I love seeing it. You're going to notice behind this barred door here, there are more blood splatters on the ground, and there is that door in the background that we can't get to yet, or maybe you can never get to. There are some doors in this game that it seems like it's impossible to actually access, or maybe some of the secrets of the life stage have yet to be discovered, because I'm probably one of the only people to take the time and actually talk about something like this. And you'll see as we go through this door here again, we've gone down multiple floors and somehow end up on a higher level than where we started, because it's the exact same area that we saw the 2 corpses in earlier. And that is exactly like PT, where depending on which direction you go, you can repeat the same areas, and depending on what you do, you can see new areas as well. The life stage will give you that exact same feedback loop. Do things right, progress along. Do things wrong, you never know what's going to happen. And as we move back into this beginning area here in the sunlight where there is no haunting, you're going to see that this is a household where two people live. There's a pair of men's shoes and a pair of women's shoes on the ground. And if we take a closer look at the women's shoes, they're going to be the exact same red pair of stiletto heels that were in the basement where the murders occurred. I think this is basically PT long before PT ever existed because it has the exact same vibe except much earlier. But leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think. It is just one opinion after all. Short of that, this is Haunted, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.